Hi guys, Bomber here. Welcome back to the channel, and in this video, as you read in the title, we're going to look at the last champion that is going to be released in Legends of Runeterra. This is my own take on it, custom design, and so yeah, without further ado, let's take a look at REK'SAI. So, REK'SAI, as you can see, is a 4 mana 5/3 fearsome. When I'm summoned, deal 1 to all enemies in combat, so that's already quite strange, and when I leave combat, transform me into borrowed REK'SAI. Level up, you have summon and 3+ borrowed REK'SAIs. So that's very interesting because first of all, you're looking at the card and you see that when I'm summoned, deal 1 to all enemies in combat. But if this is summoned regularly, so like for example playing him or whatever, you see that you can summon when you're not in combat, first of all. So there is going to be anyone, not a single unit to deal damage to. So that already, it's quite clunky how it works, but you're going to see where the synergy with this champion relies. And in my opinion, it's very interesting that you have to, synergize him with a lot of stuff to actually have a very powerful effect, and this is very unique to this style of play pattern, you could say. First of all, like looking at it, so some disclaimers: I don't play League of Legends, so I don't actually know how REK'SAI plays out in League of Legends. But I did do my research into the wiki and of League of Legends, and also the official side of League of Legends to try to understand how it works and how it should be represented in Legends of Runeterra as well. Obviously, there are more things to account for. Obviously, other synergies with other cards, etc. So, for example, first of all, you can see that it has 5 attacks, so it could already work in a reputation deck, for example, which is something that Shurima is as in its design, as it seems, with Severe. So first of all, you could go for that. And then we're going to look at Borrowed REK'SAI, which is a landmark. It transforms into a landmark. And this, in my opinion, is very interesting because not only there are a lot of... First of all, like, let's look at the Borrowed REK'SAI, what it does. When allies attack for the first time each round, summon REK'SAI attacking. So this is a way to get the REK'SAI back. And it is not really cheating him out, because if you think about it, you would have already had it in play. It is only a way to basically hide him from all the spells that target units. Instead, now you can't really target him, and you can only do so while he's played and while he's not in combat after that. Most of the times you're going to play REK'SAI on the turn that you're attacking, so you play him, they do something, then you attack, and they have that small window to interact with him, and after that he's gone. Basically, he's a landmark, so you can't interact with him anymore unless you attack again on the following turn, maybe. And so yeah. First of all, we see that you want to obviously summon as many borrowed REK'SAIs as possible to level up REK'SAI very fast. And so the best way to do so is actually, you can't abuse it with scouts or blade dances, really, because when allies attack for the first time each round, so you can't combo it off and summon additional copies of REK'SAI through multiple attacks. But what you can do is take advantage of rallies or free attacks when you're not attacking. So like on turns that you're not attacking, you can take advantage of summoning an additional REK'SAI, since that is your first attack in that round, even though you could not have attacked. So again, there could be some synergies with Blade Dance, or maybe Demacia and rallies, or who knows, like in general, effect that make you take a free attack. And there are not many because, again, REK'SAI is a landmark before you are going to attack with him, so you have to rally basically, or Blade Dance. That's it for what I can think of. Other than that, there's some other synergies. For example, Talia. You can basically summon a copy of REK'SAI by cloning the borrowed REK'SAI, and also it is on curb. So maybe that could be a bit too strong when it happens, but I think that Talia and landmark decks in general need that push, and so even if it is too strong, it is still fine in my opinion, because I want to see some new stuff, some new archetypes popping up. And so it is important in my opinion that a Shurima deck revolves around these key properties. So for example, landmarks, Ascended, instead we have only aggro with Shurima, which is a bit of a shame in my opinion. And other than that, also there is other synergies, which is with Malphite, for example. Again, landmark synergies. Basically every time you are attacking with REK'SAI, you're summoning a borrowed REK'SAI, and it is a landmark, so you are basically playing, not really playing, but spending 4 mana into landmarks every time that happens, so if you do that 3 times, you have a Malphite leveled up. So again, some cool synergies with Shurima, and so yeah, it's very interesting. Then we're going to look at the second level up, which is, of course, REK'SAI. He gains Overwhelm, and 4 mana, 6/4. When unsummoned, deal 1 3 times to all enemies in combat, because I saw that there was an ability which sometimes he could... is she a she, by the way? I don't know, let me know in the comments, but it could have attacked 3 times with basic attacks with some of his abilities, so he basically gains that when he levels up. And also, when I leave combat, transform me into Borrowed REK'SAI and create a fleeting Void Rush in hand, which is the ultimate. So, by the way, I didn't explain exactly how you can take advantage of these when I'm summoned, deal 1 3 times to all enemies in combat, or the previous iteration, which was just deal 1 to all enemies in combat. Because if you think about it, even though REK'SAI is, from after the first attack, you know, from the Borrowed REK'SAI, is summoned mid-combat, so you can take advantage of that ability. If you think about it, when you declare your attackers, REK'SAI is not among them, you click OK, and then REK'SAI is put into the battlefield, basically like a Jarvan, you could imagine him. But again, like, your opponent has still to declare blockers, so like, even though you're summoning REK'SAI during the combat, so the first effect would trigger, there are no enemies to deal damage to, because they didn't declare the blockers. So how you can do that? With challengers, or if the enemies are vulnerable. That's the insane thing, in my opinion. Not only you have to summon REK'SAI during combat, and it is achievable by just, you know, his own effect with the Borrowed REK'SAI, but you have to take advantage of vulnerable and challengers to make the first effect really get played at all. So, in my opinion, that's crazy. That's crazy design, synergies, and yeah, like, I don't know, I seem to be bragging a bit, but really, like, this is what I like, so this is what I would like to see in the game. Maybe I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. And then we're going to look at Void Rush, what that does. It is a 3 mana focus speed spell, non-collectible, so this is just something that REK'SAI generates. Destroy a Borrowed REK'SAI to target a damaged or vulnerable enemy unit. So, and let me read all the effect. Summon a REK'SAI starting a free attack, challenging it. So, this is, in my opinion, pretty representing of what REK'SAI does in League of Legends, but not at, like, all that much, like, not completely. Because the Void Rush can be only played in League of Legends on a marked enemy. And I tried to make it work with, you know, marks, etc. But, first of all, it seemed too close to what already Kindred does, so I didn't want to reiterate the same concept. And also it seemed very clunky, like, I didn't know how to exactly word it, also because if he deals damage and he marks an enemy, most of the times in game it would result in the enemy dying, so the mark wouldn't stay, and so yeah, like, instead I went for the fact that since Void Rush deals more damage on damaged foes in League of Legends, or, you know, vulnerable foes, you could imagine it in Legends of Runeterra, I went for that. Those targets are the ones that you can target, the damaged one or vulnerable ones, and also it makes sense as a predator like REK'SAI is, to be able to deal more damage to damaged or vulnerable enemy units. And the fact that it starts a free attack with challenging it, again, it will work with Azir, for example, because you have more free attacks going on, or, you know, Emperor dies, who knows, Irelia also could be a possibility, again, since you want to synergize kinda it with Blade Dances to get, you know, the additional attack on defensive turns, and yeah, the fact that it starts a free attack while he's leveled up means that you basically have a 6/4, which deals 3 damage to all enemies in combat, so the one that he targeted, and it also has Overwhelm, so it is very aggressive. REK'SAI is very aggressive, and again, in a Talia deck, maybe landmarks which were kind of mid-range and aggressive, it seems pretty interesting as well. And now with the vulnerable synergies, you could also make it work in a Renekton deck, for example. Since you want already to give vulnerable to other stuff in a Renekton deck, now you are even more incentivized to do so with REK'SAI, so that REK'SAI can come into play and deal damage to all the vulnerable enemies that are already on board when you declare the attack. So that's how REK'SAI can be pulled off. That seems very strong, and in fact I did create a bit of a package for him, relying around, you know, vulnerable, and the first card we're going to look at is Predatorial Instinct. 2 mana focus, give enemies vulnerable this round. So this is this seems on paper like a very strong effect, but if you think about it, we already have some cards like Exhaust, which is 1 mana focus, and on top of giving one enemy vulnerable, the -2, -0, so that's basically double the value if you think about it, because, you know, vulnerable and the buff, which could be how can I say it, comparable to Elixir of Iron, for example, but reversed, you know. So yeah, it's basically Elixir of Iron with an upside, which is giving vulnerable. So that card is crazy. For 1 mana, you're getting basically 2 mana worth of value. So taking that into, you know, our comparison, this doesn't give the -2, -0 to all those enemies, first of all. So already it is worth less than 1 mana. To give only vulnerable to 1 unit, because we have Exhaust, which is worth 1 mana, and it gives vulnerable plus something else. So maybe giving vulnerable to only 1 enemy is worth like 0.5 mana, maybe. So like to make this card worth hit, you have to give vulnerable to at least 4 enemies, and it is an effect which is only for that round. So it is true that you can take valuable trades, but you have to be kind of equal on board, first of all, to do so, and you have to spend this mana. They can do other stuff with that mana, maybe remove something of your own, so that you can take all that many trades that you as you wished for. So yeah, in my opinion, this is still probably balanced. I thought about making it 3 mana, maybe that would be much more safe, but I think that 2 mana is still pretty strong. And so yeah, guys, this is a very general card. Like, this could definitely see play as it is in a Renekton deck, or like really as a standalone card. But in REK'SAI decks, again, like giving enemies vulnerable this round means that when REK'SAI is coming into play, attacking, it is going to deal 1 or 3 damage to all the vulnerable enemies that you challenged. And also, of course, this works with Renekton and all the stuff that we said before. And now, again, pushing this vulnerable archetype, which is something that seems to be in the, you know, the design of Shurivan, because we have Merciless Hunter, we have the Rock Hopper, yeah, we have a lot of vulnerable effects, because it is a Renekton, but also, again, probably REK'SAI works in the same theme. And so, yeah, I designed also a follower, following that vulnerable thing, which is Succubus. Succubus, 2 mana, 3/2, Fearsome. When I challenge an enemy, you need to set its power to 0 this round. So, like, you know, this Succubus that charms you, and if she accomplished to do so, you're basically, you know, in her charms, and you can't really attack her because she has charmed you. And so, yeah, you don't have power against her. But of course, as some other stuff that we saw in Demacia as well, that there were units that had an effect, a positive effect when they challenged an enemy, but they didn't have challenger on their own. So you had either to give vulnerable to enemies, or you have to grant or give a challenger to them. Again, we go into the same direction. And this is still something that also works with the Renekton, so you could see it all fit together. And again, like, yeah, this seems pretty, like, okay, design-wise. As for the power level, maybe I could have gone for a 2/2 or a 2/3, because again, a 2 mana, 3/2 Fearsome, stop, that already could be kind of good, because we have, you know, the Arachnoid Horror in Shadow's Islands, and that's already a card which is run. But if you think about it, it is only really run because it is a spider, and it is only run in spider decks, or some variations of Fearsome decks in Shadow's Islands, but they're probably just because there aren't any other options at 2 mana to have a Fearsome attacker, if you want to go into that direction. And so yeah, guys, 2 mana, 3/2 Fearsome without the spider thing seems still balanced in my opinion, so giving it a kind of an upside in that specific deck, which is running either vulnerable or granting challenger or whatever, seems fine, because you need to synergize with her to actually take the most out of her. And even if you do so, it is basically a 3 damage to something, which doesn't make the Succubus die. So yeah, you could see it basically as a removal that you spend 2 mana on, and you deal 3 damage to something if you have the vulnerable on something, or if you gave the Succubus challenger. And so yeah, guys, we looked at all the cards. This is my version of REK'SAI. Let me know in the comments what you think about this design. And so yeah, guys, that's it for this video. Please, if you liked the video, remember to like, subscribe, leave a comment, whatever helps the channel. Also check the links down below in the description. In there you will find Instagram, as well as other stuff like Patreon, for example, if you want to support me. But even if you can't do that, or you're not willing to, but still want to help. Just sharing the word with your friends helps a lot, really. And so yeah, guys, that's it for this video. Hope you liked it and find it useful. And as always, see ya.